to yesterday was this prospective buyer of the building. I don't know who that is. That's very secretive. But no, and Samsung doesn't own it. They manage it.
Right.
Yeah, but yeah, it's really, these people are in a very bad way. And as we're doing case management, you're talking about people who are living on like $1,000 to $2,000 a month.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway. So I will have to jump off at 10 because we have a meeting at 10.
We appreciate your being here.
Susan, I have a question for you since we're not officially starting. The last several days, I've not been able to get onto the CHIP. I've not been able to access the CHIP report. It keeps saying that there are too many redirects, and I've tried it from different devices. And so it's the Think Health STL one. Is it me and my devices, or is there a temporary, is that link down? Do you know? And if it's down, I wondered if I could get a PDF of it because I didn't download one to begin with. And part of my reason for asking that, Jamie, we had talked about looking at some questions, putting together a series of questions or something that we could direct back to the health department that would allow them to see what we're doing. I thought I would wait one more month and attend the master plan on aging, and that would be a good time to look at the two documents side by side and see if there's room for us to be engaged in some manner. But I've not been able to access the document for the past maybe a week almost.
I'm wondering if we should try to reach out to any of the, like Wayne and Cookie and others that haven't been able to get on yet.
I was
Lillian.
just on the phone with Wayne. I just sent him the link again.
So if we can wait a minute for Wayne, because won't that give us a quorum?
Let's see.
Yes.
No.
No, it doesn't.
We
We need
need
two.
We're still missing.
No, it does not.
Yeah, we're still missing one.
Yeah, we need two more.
Two more.
Considering half the meeting was voting.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe we should go back to, I know I didn't RSVP. I usually say if I'm not going to attend, but I don't know. Should we go back to that ahead of time so we're prepared and we can alter an agenda as needed? If we, some sort of, just to let the commission know if we're able to make it or not.
We were notified of 3 people,
Yeah.
Okay.
but that would have still left us with a quorum. So I haven't heard from Cookie or Lillian.
Okay.
So I had presumed we would have a quorum. I know that sometimes Cookie has difficulty getting on as well.
Yeah, I just sent an email to Cookie and,
Oh, okay.
and to
Oh.
Lillian.
Okay, because that's what I was doing. So
Good.
I was
The
getting
more
ready
merrier.
to as well.
really,
Some of us are faster with technology than others. So
We can start.
I guess we can go ahead and, so Mac, I have a question. Can we go ahead and start the meeting and skip over voting items? And then if we get a quorum, come back to that?
Yeah, so what you would do is you would still actually do like an official roll call to show that there's not a quorum at the start. Then we would proceed with the items, but anything that's voting we can't do. So that's minutes, all of that sort of stuff. But yeah, you can talk about any of the different updates on, grandpads or anything else that's on the agenda.
But if we get 2 more people on the call and we've already opened the meeting, can we then?
So
Go
what
back.
would happen then is that we would acknowledge that a quorum has been established when those people join, and then you can cycle back then to earlier on in the agenda for any voting items.
Okay. Well, why don't we go ahead and get started, and hopefully Wayne and Cookie and Lillian will be joining us shortly. But we do have a fairly full agenda. We had a number of voting items. So I am going to pull up my agenda because my printer wasn't working this morning. always the case. And it's not. So the first two items were voting items.
We need to do a roll call.
Oh, yes. Susan, would you call the roll? This is throwing
Yes.
out of whack. Thank you.
Carol Rodriguez,
Here.
Dan Rosenthal,
Here.
Wayne Flesh. No. Wayne should get on. Wilma Schmitz is not here. Lillian Eunice, Sharon Mitchell, Michael Nickel, Liz De La Perouse,
Here.
Lisa Hotley,
Here.
Lisa Noel. You do not have a quorum.
Okay. Thank you, Susan. So why don't we, Dan, you were going to lead a discussion on goals and commissioner championship assignments. Do you want to talk about that, even though so many of us are not present?
We could, it would be great if we were all here, because the goal of the goals discussion is to get people to volunteer to champion some of the goals. So maybe we should, why don't we wait on that one?
I agree. I agree. So Lisa Hotley, I'm going to move on to you, St. Louis County Health Department.
Yes, I had basically reviewed the plan that was presented and just made some notes. We had talked about a couple of areas, mental health, anything in the behavioral health arena, and looking to drill down a little bit further on older adult data. So it didn't seem as robust and very specific to the population, our population of interest. So what I thought, rather than go back, the goal we had talked about last time was to go back and maybe ask some specific questions that would do two things. One, it would gather information for us, but it would also put us on the radar and just kind of prompt health department to start thinking of us more as a population of interest. I see Jamie shaking her head because she knows all about this. She and I have had many conversations about this. So waiting until the March, till the master plan presentation, I think would be a good time to gather that and kind of align those two plans, I think. And then we can talk about, here's where the state is heading. How do we see the county, either making some changes or becoming more interested in these areas. And so basically that, it's just listening to what we have from the master plan, and then I'll circle back to what we talked about last month.
Great.
Does that make sense? And if you have any other questions regarding it, it's just making this available to people. And like I say, I've been having a problem. I've gone in through the county website and then I've gone in directly through the link. And it keeps saying that it has too many redirects and that the page isn't available. So it could be that it just sometimes happens, but I'll continue. And if not, then I'll look for a PDF and I'll contact, I forgot who it is that's in charge of the website, and let them know that we're having a problem.
Sounds good. And do we know with the master plan, and Lisa Noel has kind of been our point person on that, but at this kind of town hall meeting, are we going to get some real tangibles of what's being proposed for the plan? Jamie, do you have a response to that?
Yeah, I'm on the advisory team, and my understanding is that they're supposed to be presenting what they've already captured from, this year-long process of gathering information. But they're also really just asking too for people, what do you think are, the needs and so forth. And so we haven't been giving really clear an understanding of how the day is going to be run. Lisa probably know a lot more about it because the AAAs are running the meetings. So we were just asked as advisory members to help promote it and get as many people there as possible.
Good. Well, we're going to talk a little bit more about that a little bit later in the agenda. And Lisa couldn't be here today because the national team on GrandPads are in town
Oh.
to meet with her.
I'm going to
Which is-
interrupt for a second.
Yeah.
Susan, could you call Cookie? She's trying to get the password. I just sent it to her, but she said it wasn't working. Could
Okay.
you send her the password? Sorry,
Sure.
thank you. Sorry to interrupt.
Could it, that's fine. I appreciate your doing that, Dan. Could it be she's trying to get, I think where there's some confusion sometimes is there are two different passwords if you're getting on as a, yay. There she is.
Is she
Hi,
here?
Cookie.
Okay,
Yes, yes.
I got it.
Good morning, everyone.
It's
Hi, good
to
morning,
see
Cookie.
you.
Thanks for joining.
Yes, thank you. We appreciate it. So if Wayne gets on, which we hope he will, then we'll have a quorum. But we'll talk about the master plan a little bit later on the agenda because Lisa really asked if we could kind of do some brainstorming about how to get more people there. I will move on to well, no, Liz, you want to give us an update on Financial Protection Coalition as well
Well,
as the broadband update?
Sure. Well, kind of part of both of those things, which is why I was down in Jeff City with the Missouri Council on Aging, Silver Hair Legislative Day or whatever, and did get the chance that this sheet, which was handed out, kind of has the bullet points, which with number of Missourians, it is estimated by 2030 there'll be 6,700,000 Missourians, and then how many of those are older, younger children, and so just kind of the big thing on financial fraud and abuses that Ann Wagner got through. It seemed like I don't think there were any votes against it.
was
In
unanimous.
Washington just on the 30th. So that was great. And then one of the things that I really talked up with a meeting both with Missouri Foundation for Health as well as while I was down in Jeff City with the Lieutenant Governor was how successful the GrandPads were as a way of getting to those individuals who are really, in a way, fearful of technology. It's just very user-friendly, and that in rural Missouri, using the model that Lisa Knoll has of having the AAAs and the virtual senior center really appealed. And there was one particular person named Bill Acor, who is with the Christian County Senior Fund. So you're shaking your head. And they were talking about how through their senior fund, they have been able to provide transportation, but that during the pandemic, there had been so much conversation about not accepting phone calls or answering the door if there was someone there you didn't know, that they had a very hard time checking in on people. And the GrandPad concept would have been very, very helpful. And I saw sort of through talking with him and his wife that that was the big thing that they were able to do with their funds that they had from the 5-cent tax was to provide transportation. So sorry about the dog. So it's that getting to that population. Now, one of the things that I said was that Lisa had that I sort of gave the overview of how we got to as many as 3,000 people with the GrandPads at one point and realized that we didn't need that many, and that it is now settled down at 750. But I said that one of the great values of that technology was being able to get the 750 people with messages, with concerns that otherwise you wouldn't be able to capture or see. So a great deal of interest on the program. And I said that I knew that Lisa was looking into comparing the costs of 750 people being in a senior center to 750 people being connected virtually. You know, was this a way of providing messages, isolation, loneliness, you know, addressing all of those through this technology? So that was kind of the, that was Jamie? Okay, gotcha. So thank you, Jamie. Yeah, I think that the big thing is that the GrandPad program was a successful program, and we've captured a lot of data through it. And oh, the other big thing that I was able to do was I said that the one missing figure in all of this was the healthcare industry, that they had not been at many of the digital meetings that I've attended. There's Connect STL, which is the bigger group that's trying to get broadband to everybody in the St. Louis region. And so thanks to Jennifer, she introduced me to the BJC lobbyist down in Jeff City. So hopefully we can get to them, because I just said simply, this is really, really beneficial for delivering healthcare and accessing sorts of good information. So the lobbyist said he was going to get it. So hopefully we can open that door as well.
And everyone, for the questions, is that if you're capable of talking on it, can we say our questions not via the chat, but actually do it just for the purposes of everybody attending? So Dan, I know you asked a question. Could you ask that now as opposed to texting it in the chat?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I did have a question. So in a previous meeting, I think we heard that there were technical challenges at Maryland Heights to do virtual. Has that been resolved, or so will people be able to join via GrandPads on the Maryland Heights Town Hall meeting?
I think that's a question for Lisa Knoll. I
Yeah.
think that we're trying to work on that, but that's a really good point, Dan. And I think that we'll need to loop back with Lisa on that as well.
But I see Jamie's, is that what you're referring to, Jamie? Because in the chat you say that the town hall in person can attend. Is that true of the Maryland Heights meeting, or just the large one?
My understanding, when I'm looking at the email that they just sent about they're going to have a virtual town hall opportunity, and it says, let's see, Aging Ahead is, yeah, I believe it's going to be at that location, but let me go back and look one more time. Yeah, I think it's supposed to be at each location will have an opportunity for people to attend virtually, is my understanding.
That's excellent.
Yeah.
Oh, let's see, here it says, not everyone can make it to an in-person town hall meeting. Click on one of the links below to be taken to a simple free registration, which will secure your spot. And I'll forward this to you all in a virtual version of the forum. These meetings will take place completely online via Microsoft Teams. After registering, you'll receive an email with further instructions on how to join the meeting. Oh, it's just on March 21st, so it's not.
Oh, just March.
Yeah. My apologies, but I'll send this form to you.
That would be great. And I'm sure Lisa will probably be reaching out to the GrandPad population to make them aware and engage with that, because it's just so very important.
Yeah.
So thanks, Liz. And I think, with GrandPads, and Lisa and I had a brief discussion, but she, because she couldn't be here today, and she really emphasized how important this research initiative, which I think is really a big research initiative with WashU, is going to be in terms of, really being able to drill down on the impact and effectiveness over a longer period of time, because this is, I believe, a 3-year NIH study. So, so
But
kudos, and long term, we should have some very good
that,
results.
yeah, I'd forgotten about that. The other thing I did bring up with both Ian Mackey and Deb Lavender, the circuit breaker. And in both cases, they mentioned that the circuit breaker, expanding that, was preferable to the tax freeze. So I just kind of brought that up as another issue that was being followed by the commission.
Well, that kind of leads us into the next point on our agenda, and that is to talk about the property tax situation or legislation in circuit breaker. Right, when we last met, there was quite a bit of discussion about the difficulty of things moving forward in Jefferson City, which I think if anyone is reading the paper or watching the news, there's just been, there have been several filibusters in the Senate, and not a whole lot is getting done. There are a number of circuit breaker pieces of legislation that have been filed. One actually had a hearing. No one testified in support of it because it really did not accomplish what the work group felt were essential goals to moving circuit breaker forward. So there is hope that the Matteson bill or McCreary in the Senate have similar legislation that includes most of the provisions that the work group that is being coordinated by the Missouri Budget Project is hoping to see. So right now, a lot of people are monitoring this, and as things move forward, I think as a commission, we'll stay on top of this. I'll stay on top of it and make people aware as this bill moves forward, because I think it is an important way of trying to address escalating property taxes that people are experiencing. And I think a lot of what's been in the press is that the people most impacted are low to middle income individuals. So individuals that would certainly benefit from a circuit breaker. They saw the biggest increase in their property taxes with this last assessment. So any questions in regards to that? We're just clipping right along.
Carol, one thing I can add was that was Lieutenant Governor Keogh said that they were trying to clean up the tax bill. So whatever that means.
Yeah, my understanding is there have been numerous bills filed in regards to the cleanup. So we'll we'll see how this all advances. I think a lot of communities have had copious questions about 190. So we'll see. I guess next on the agenda is the master plan on aging. And I included with the agenda is a copy of the flyer for the event in St. Louis. We were asked by Lisa to talk about what are ways that we can really get the word out about this event and make sure that a lot of people attend. I think there will be strong attendance by professionals, but I think it's really important for older adults to be present. I mean, it's good that we have representatives there from agencies that are providing services to seniors, both, you know, from housing to meals to art classes. But it's also really important for seniors to be present and have their voices heard. So I'm gonna open it up and, you know, ask for input on how we feel we can get people to this event, or get the word out and then assist people with getting to the event itself.
And
Thoughts,
sorry,
Dan?
Carol, before you go on, I see that Cookie asked a question in the chat about the previous topic. She said, will there be changes to the income amount on the circuit breaker to bring up the to-date cost of living?
Oh, absolutely. What is, Cookie, what's being proposed is a fairly significant increase. And there will be in the proposed legislation, or at least the legislation that is being supported by this kind of coalition of organizations and individuals, there would be a COLA provision as well. So it would increase initially, and I believe those figures are included in the handout that was part of the agenda packet. And if not, I can send you that separately as well, Cookie, because it includes the amount increase that it's being proposed.
Thank you.
So that's a good question, and thanks for asking for that clarification. So thoughts on making people aware, and Dan?
Well, I'm assuming that all of the kind of the usual suspects already know about it. You know, I'm sure that, you know, Harvey Friedman, Center on Aging at Wash U, is aware of this event. If not, we can talk to Nancy Morrow Howell or other people there. Are the Norks aware of this? You know, um, is it Sarah Levinson at
Jewish.
Covenant Place? Yeah. So, I mean, are those people aware of this? I mean, we can reach out to the people that we know just to make sure it's on their radar.
Well, I think one of the things we can do is each one of us can call our county council member and encourage them to reach out to the constituents that they know, you know, who are, whether it's be senior centers or, you know, Lutheran Family Service locations, whatever. I think would be.
I think that's a really good idea, and I think we should ask them to be present if they can,
Yes.
and to let us know if they will be present. Dan and I will be extending that invitation to Dr. Page when we meet with him. Also, many members of the county council have newsletters that go out. They could include this in their newsletter. And I think they're always looking for things that are important to include. So I think that that's a positive. So if everyone could make sure, I believe there's a copy of the flyer, although I have not seen it in just flyer format. This was something that I got online, and then I kind of cut and pasted it into a Word doc, but I think it'll work.
I think there is a flyer, because we have them, we're distributing them at our tax sites. And there is an actual flyer. Let me see if I can find an electronic copy of that.
Yeah.
It might
I
be
can send it out.
worthwhile just reaching out to Kristen, because the libraries are going to be a great way to get information. I'm sure she's
Right.
already on their radar, but still. And Oasis.
Yeah. So I think Lisa probably has talked to Kristen because they
That's what I would
work
think.
so closely together. And I can reach out to Oasis if that would, I'd be happy to do that as well. Liz, do you want to reach out to St. Andrews? Don't you have a connection there?
Yes, yeah, be happy to. Yeah.
How many people can attend? Do we have, are we loading a place that holds 100 people, or what's the expectation? And so how far should the invitation extend?
I
Does
think
it?
it's a huge room. I think it's the
Yeah.
same room where we held one of our meetings a few years ago in Maryland Heights.
Is that when
When
Mark
Friedman was in
Friedman?
town.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's the same room.
Okay. But what would you say that capacity is? I was just curious, wouldn't want to see where we do this far-reaching invitation
Yeah.
and there's no room for people and no parking. So do we?
Several hundreds, I think.
No, I
that's
think
pretty
that,
large.
yeah, Lisa, I think that was one of the big things that Lisa Knoll was looking for, was one where capacity would not be an issue. That, the more the merrier.
Okay.
I did ask as well, if you have several hundred people, how do you go about seeking input? And they're going to do breakout sessions, which I think will be good, to kind of make that input process a little more manageable, because they could have several hundred people there.
Yeah, if we use all the agencies, all the provider communication lists, if this goes out in blasts across multiple disciplines, we could in essence have 1,000 people there. I'm sure that would be a good problem to have, that there would be that much interest. But again, I don't want to set something up that we are at capacity and creating ill will towards something strictly because we over invited. So if that's not going to be a problem, then I guess we'll hit all the avenues we just talked about.
I think one of the barriers and is transportation for some people, not having transportation to get there. And I believe Lisa was looking at that, is there, because this is the only listening session that's being held for the Aging Ahead service area, which is 4 counties. I mean, it's also St. Charles, Franklin, Jefferson, as well as St. Louis. So, so yes, Lisa Hotley, we could have a very large crowd if we have representation from those other areas, which, I think is also important. It's not our role. We're focusing on St. Louis County. But even with St. Louis County, I know for individuals, for example, Cookie in your area, I mean, that's Maryland Heights is a distance to travel, especially if you don't have appropriate transportation.
I was just going to ask, and I don't know if I got it in chat in time to ask, would it be a possibility for St. Louis County? They have vans that maybe they could provide some transportation for some of those hard areas.
I'm not aware of vans that we have that we use to transport people. I know, like our county youth program has a van that they use, but they use that but very limited to transport some younger folks. But I'm not really aware, I think, of like a widespread van pool that St. Louis County has to provide that.
Carol, I question, and maybe I'm a little confused here. Is this the appropriate town hall meeting for a resident that's not engaged for a particular reason, would this really be the appropriate place, or is this, I don't want to say too top line, but this seems to be still fleshing out, like Jamie had said, looking for more information, guidance on where to take this plan and what kind of information, to gather. It seems to me that it's too broad and still too, I should say, concept based, that it's not going to be this true dissemination of information. I would really say, to make this plan successful and to let everybody know resources as this plan comes together, I want to make sure that the meetings that we invite the general public to are valuable and that they are very topic specific. So is this that type of meeting, or should we be more focused on getting our political leaders and our agency representatives here? That's a question I have for whoever.
Yeah, I think it's a really good question, Lisa. And my understanding is that this is a town hall. So I think it is truly designed to gather the public's input, because I think that the plan has heard and has been crafted a lot by professionals who work with the public, with older adults, as well as individuals with disabilities. But I think this is really to ask the consumer and give the consumer that opportunity for voice. I know when I was with the Alzheimer's Association, we did a number of these, and sometimes it was very eye-opening and revealing what some of the pressure points were in the community that maybe we weren't truly focusing on the way we needed to be. So that is my understanding. Jamie, is that your understanding of the intent? It's really to give that consumer an opportunity to have a voice.
You are correct. Yeah.
Also, there are very few opportunities for the public to weigh in on this. And this is really,
Very few.
there are limited town halls available. So if the public wants to weigh in, they definitely, this would be the right venue.
I feel like
the only venue.
Yeah, I feel like this is a great idea, but then we put it in Maryland Heights. We don't have specific subpopulations that we are providing transportation to have broad representation. So if in fact, St. Charles might be able to provide buses, transportation, or maybe some of the other counties, and then we don't have true representation. So that's why I'm saying, if this is a 4-county town hall meeting and we haven't gone out specifically to ask for, we've got 7 districts here, even within the county, are we making sure that we have reached those 7 those 7 district residents, that they would even have a way to find out about it? So it just felt so big and so wide that I felt like it wouldn't be true representation. It's going to be whoever gets the news about it. So I certainly understand that.
Dan?
So if transportation is the hurdle for this, what organizations are out there that could provide transportation for this? Maybe not necessarily with the county, but other entities that could provide transportation.
Dan, I think one of the things that I keep coming up with is that and that's unfortunate that Lisa Knoll isn't here, but I think the senior centers, churches, other, and I'll, like, for instance, the first thing I'm going to ask St. Andrews is, can they provide, or, what are their, how would they address transportation from their facilities for their residents to come to this town hall? So, and for instance, and Lisa, with your concern, I think when we talk to those county council people, impress upon them how important it is that their district be represented and that their residents be there, because that's the only way we can know what their concerns are. So I think we're too small a group to be able to reach out to everyone, but we can kind of talk to, the council members and encourage them to do that.
Would some of the school help us, like maybe use of the school buses?
I think it would be challenging, Cookie, because it starts at 9 o'clock in the morning. So I think that that might be a challenge. My understanding is that Aging Ahead is very aware of the need for transportation, and I think Lisa Knoll is looking into, what's realistic for them to be able to do in terms of looking at transportation options. So I'm sorry she isn't on the call. I will talk to Lisa and make sure that I get back with everyone in regards to that to see, how that segment of this plan is advancing. I know that they're the ones hosting this event. So they've got the cost associated with that. And yet they also were very conscious of the need for transportation, but transportation is extremely expensive to provide. So I
You
will
think
talk to
Metro
her. And
might help? If we reached out to Metro, you think they may help?
No. I think, I suspect that not-for-profits that would have an interest in attending. I just sent a note to Madeline Franklin at Steel Village to ask her if we wanted to, spread the word amongst the members to see who could attend and who could potentially drive.
Sure.
Yeah.
We might also spend our energies on that virtual town hall. That would be a great way to disseminate through our 7 districts and to really have greater coverage by making sure we get that information out, and we'll be better equipped to do that, I think, after this in-person meeting, to say what exactly they could expect at a town hall and how their input would matter. So maybe we need to revisit that. Did you say, Jamie, that was at March 21st, that virtual?
To go back, I think I just sent it to some of you. I didn't have everybody's email address, so I apologize. Let me go back and look. The other thing
Yeah,
I
Mark.
is reach out to the municipalities, like the Florissant mayor, like getting it into their newsletters as well. And the other thing that we were concerned about, at least in the city, it's March 21st. Yes.
Great.
We just didn't want. We want to try to get people beyond the senior centers to come, because it's very easy for a senior center to have their participants participate, get on the regular bus that they're used to and so forth. It's like, how do we get that? We want that group there, but how do we go beyond that is what we're thinking about in the city as well.
How are we reaching people who currently aren't utilizing services provided by the area agencies on aging? So just to build on that point, because not everybody is aware, the St. Louis Area Agency on Aging will have their separate, and it's on a different day, or?
I think it's the same day, but in the afternoon.
Okay.
Why? Yeah. I have to go back. I have to pull up the dates. I don't have, I think ours
That's
is
okay.
March 5th or something.
March 5th is the same day, yeah.
Okay, I think yours is in the morning, ours is in the afternoon.
Okay, good. So I think the charge to our group is if we could all reach out to our county council person and send them a copy of the flyer. At a minimum, ask if they would include it in their newsletter that goes out to constituents. And if they are able to attend, that would be beneficial as well. And then I will see if I can follow up and find out a bit more information on transportation. And I think there's been a lot of outreach done to make people aware through organizations that are involved in the is it Aging Coalition, the state group, Jamie?
The Missouri Council on Aging?
The Missouri Council on Aging. So I think a lot of communication is going out through that resource as well. Other questions or ideas? This is an important event, so if we could get this on our county council members' radar screens sooner rather than later, that would be beneficial. And Susan, if you have that in a flyer format.
I do. I'm trying to figure out how to send it to everybody because of the format that it's in, but I'll get it out to you.
Okay, that'd be great.
Susan, could you make it a PDF so that each one of the municipalities, any place we send it then, has a format that's printable and passable?
That's what I'm going to try to do here. Sometimes
Thank
it's
you.
definitely in some kind of a PDF.
So I
There it
alerted
is.
Madeline
Oh, it's a
Franklin.
photo. It's a photo is the problem.
I reached out to Madeline while we were talking and alerted her that there will be an event in the city as well as the county, but we have associate members who live in the county. So she said she would try to organize some carpooling,
That'd be great.
some people there.
Super.
Okay. Yep.
So under new business, Missouri Council on Aging, Learning Labs, and legislative calls, that was really a pull through from last month. But again, to remind everyone that the legislative calls are twice a month and they're open to everyone. They're on Friday at 11 o'clock. And if anyone is interested, I can send out the link again. I think I've sent that previously. But it's an hour call and there are usually, 50 people minimum on the calls, and always several individuals that are lobbyists or very active at the state level, kind of giving an update on issues of interest to individuals with disabilities as well as older adults. So can be very informative. You don't have to say anything. It's just something you can listen in and kind of, hear from all those high-paid lobbyists and what they're working.
I had a nice visit with Nicole Lynch when I was down yesterday, and we're going to get together because I think doesn't she run those calls? Isn't she one of the main people on those calls?
She's on those calls, but the other Nicole is.
Yeah, Nicole. Right.
The other Nicole is the one who's in charge of the calls, and I think they can, especially as the legislative session goes on, it's a good way to stay on top of activities. And then the last thing under new business is the report to the county executive and members of the county council. This is something that we always do in May. And Susan, it would probably, I can go ahead and reach out to Councilwoman Webb and see if we can get on their calendar.
Okay.
Jamie had mentioned where the one in the city would be. Where's the venue for the city town hall?
I think it's at the O'Fallon Y.
For the city of St. Louis?
I think it's called, isn't it called the O'Fallon Y? Is it in the city?
It's at
It's at a Y.
the Monsanto Y. What is? I know where it is, but I can't remember the name of it.
Where is it?
It's
Jamie,
on.
one in
Yeah.
the city. I think she's checking.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. It's the O'Fallon Park, O'Fallon Park
O'Fallon
Recreation
Park.
Complex, 4343 West Florissant Avenue. I'll send this to you as well. It's a listing of all 10 locations across the state.
So back to the report to the county council and members, to the county executive and members of the county council. This is a report that we do in writing, and then the last several years, we've also done a brief PowerPoint that kind of summarizes the key takeaways from that report. We're looking both at what were major accomplishments for the year that we want to share with our elected officials, and then we also want to share the goals. And since we don't have a quorum today, we kind of skipped over the goals. So I think that we'll want to hone in on that next month when Dan puts the agenda together.
Yeah, I'd encourage everybody to review that PowerPoint and just, I think we've highlighted the items where we hope to focus this year, and a lot of people on this call and off this call are already champions of those items, but just want to make it a little bit more formal and make sure that we're not missing any tasks, that we don't have representation for some of the goals. So please reach out to me. I think also we can't vote because we don't have a quorum, but
Right.
we do have a chair slated. That would be me, and we have a vice chair in Wilma, but we don't have a second vice chair identified. If there's anybody willing to do that and be in line to be chair again, please let me know. And if I don't hear from anybody, I'll start calling people.
Thanks, Dan.
Carol and Dan, well, one thing that I keep meaning to say is that I did promise county executive that I was going to get detailed information on the gram pads. So I know, and Lisa and Christian, kind of said they were going to get that to me, and I haven't gotten that. When you meet with him, that might be something that he's going to, that he would like to have. And I'm sure Lisa, after today, will be able to give you some information.
Great, super. We are meeting with him a week from Friday, a week from tomorrow. So I'll touch base with her part of that meeting as well. Jamie, I know you need to jump off in just a minute. Do you have anything else you want to share before you depart and leave our group? And
No, everything. Thank you again for just allowing me to participate, and anything I can do to assist you guys, I'm happy to do.
well, we really appreciate your wisdom and knowledge and input. So thank you for making the time.
All right,
That's
guys,
great.
talk to you later.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jamie.
Bye.
And Sue, we're just glad that you're back with us today.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, and do you have
I have a
anything you
short,
would like?
I have a short report. We met in January and found out that two of our members, one is retiring, the other one had resigned. So we're definitely looking for new members. And one of the things that we really need is an agency representative. So if any of you know of somebody who works with people with disabilities in an agency who might be interested in serving, to let me know. Did that. And the other thing that we concentrated on was we're reviewing our annual report. We submit that to the Committee on Disabilities, and then that goes then to the council. So that's what we were working on, was the reviewing that. And that's all I have.
Super. So are those, are past reports published somewhere, Sue? Just out of curiosity.
I believe they're on the website. I'm not sure. Good question. I'll ask.
Okay.
But
That
I am pretty sure that they are in the website. We have an ADA coordinator who is responsible for that. We have a new individual, Dana Lancaster. So I'll check with Dana to find out whether she publishes them on the website.
Well, thank you.
Okay.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Dan, I just
Yeah.
realized that we kind of skipped over St. Louis County Home Improvement Program discussion.
Right.
I apologize
That's
for,
okay.
for that.
So I reached out to Greg Laposa. Sue gave me their his contact information. I left numerous messages. I've not gotten return calls, so I'll pester him. He's the director of workforce development. So I left a lengthy message the last time I tried to reach out, saying who I was and what we were trying to do, and hoping that we could support his department in any way. I will say that there was someone forwarded me a town hall meeting. I'm sorry, excuse me, a county council meeting video. It was on Holocaust Remembrance Day, which I think was last week. That was the meeting that was disrupted and someone got arrested after that meeting. But before the disruption, Dr. Page gave a report and spent a lot of time talking about workforce development. So I think it's a good time for us to address this issue and to weigh in on it.
Timing is everything.
It is.
So I think you're right. Well, good. Thank you, Dan. I appreciate the update.
Carol, can we circle back to the goals? The link that I got from Dan is a partial, it looks like maybe a cut and paste of just the health and well-being section of the goals. Did you get something different? I have just 2 items.
So Lisa, it's in the link of the agenda that's on the county website.
Yeah.
If I can share my screen, I can put it up. It's a PowerPoint, so if you're not opening it in PowerPoint, that may be why you're getting kind of a snapshot of it.
And maybe
Not the
the
whole
link,
thing.
yeah, the link is not opening it in PowerPoint, but I'll go back and look at it. But one of the
I
things.
mean, I can share my screen if that's okay.
It's okay. I'll go back and look at it. I do see that it's a PowerPoint, and no, it's not showing up. But I think what my point was throughout the meeting, we've talked about one of the key themes I keep hearing is how do we reach people? How do we reach people? And I'm thinking as our goals that we might want to talk about a more established line of communication with each one of our constituents, and I know we've talked about this for years, but how do we reach? Do we use the municipalities to disseminate information? Do we use our council people? Do we use agencies? So instead of us always saying, I wonder how, we're having a town hall meeting or we know about this, I wonder how, I'm thinking we could develop a communication plan that would actually, we wouldn't have to wonder how. We could say, that, oh, this is this type of meeting meant for all residents in the county, therefore it goes through these channels. And I know that would require update and some gathering of information, but maybe just having more of a communication plan, we could spend less time talking about how we reach, and then we could just hit our groups more effectively.
Yeah. I mean, you're right. I think that has always been a challenge. I know that we've attempted to different venues like the organization of mayors of all the municipalities, and we just haven't gotten a lot of good feedback. Or
You know what, Lisa, maybe what we should be doing is, because I hadn't always gotten them, but going back to the county council and the county executive sends out a weekly summary of what's going on, and see if they can't have something that literally talks about older adults, and have that included as just a line item that they discuss every time.
Well, I remember about 6 years ago, I think I wrote a communication plan, which was a bit more robust than a complete volunteer advisory board was able to manage. And, then we started looking for funds to have part-time staff, that we could have somebody that was vetting those communications and being able to disseminate them. They would also have updated lists of agencies, much more so, as Susan has tried multiple times, when we started the age-friendly task force, even the personnel changes were so significant that the email you never knew who was going to be in charge of something, so those emails were constantly changing. Likewise, positions came and went inside of who would get at the municipality level, who would get that information. In some cases it'd be the Parks and Rec director, in another case there might be an older adult agency. So not having this consortium or this repository of data is difficult, and I still think that that should be a grant of some sort that someone puts together. And I don't know if the master plan on aging is going to do that at a state level, but where could we, and maybe that's a discussion to say, how do we put this together so that we can be more efficient in our communication? We could be, that way we could increase our frequency, cover all 4 of our topic areas, and just seems like it'd be a little more established and direct. So that was my thought for goals.
Interesting. I'm wondering if any of the other commissions have budgets for any sort of support. This is something that we've talked about before, and that would help us do the sorts of things that we've talked about, as Lisa just said. Do other commissions have a budget for any administrative staff?
This is Sue, and good question. We had to advocate for several years in order to get an ADA coordinator. Originally, there wasn't any budget for it, and we discussed it, and we said, hey, the next time you put together a budget, why don't we put that money in there for an ADA coordinator? It took a little while, but we finally got, the ADA coordinator. But as far as a budget for doing anything, we don't have it.
Yeah. And that ADA coordinator reports to whom? I mean,
Pardon?
Who does that person report to?
ADA coordinator is a county employee, and she reports to the chair of the commission.
Huh.
I mean, she has other duties too, but
so did you have a full-time staff and then a part-time, or did you have part-time that went to full-time eventually?
She is considered the ADA coordinator for St. Louis County, so I'm assuming that she does other things. Susan might know a little bit more about that. You're mute, Susan.
Is it still Carol Flood?
No, Carol left. It's now Dana Lancaster.
I've talked to Dana a couple
Yeah.
of times. I believe she was under the Department of Administration.
Okay.
And so that's who she reports to, but she is the ADA coordinator for all ages for St. Louis County. So she does have other duties. I don't know specifically what they are.
I don't either.
Perhaps that's a question for Dr. Page, to know a little bit about commissions, how he sees them being valuable, and if he sees any benefit to having some support staff that could act on many of the things that we're advising council to act on.
I mean, I think if you look at the commissions that are across St. Louis County, and this is just me talking, this isn't St. Louis County talking, but they have it's a wide range of responsibilities that they have. Some of them are just like approving like contract things that come in and, things like that. It's not, I don't know if Matt knows anything more than I do, but it's not, they all have varied duties, like your advisory, and some of them are, and some of them, like actually make decisions on things and things like that. To the best of my knowledge, none of them have staff dedicated completely to the commissions.
And our charge is not,
Susan.
I'm sorry.
That's
Oh, sorry. That was my understanding as well, Susan.
Okay.
I think if we remember, our charge is not to disseminate information to the residents. That's not actually in our duties. Our duties actually include advising council on policies that impact older adults. So we sometimes are doing things that really aren't we're working bi-directionally, which is where our hearts are and what we want to see. We want to see these programs accessible, but our charge. So for us to argue, we need staff to do something that our commission is not in our list of duties. Probably isn't a real sound argument.
That's why I keep going back to the asking the council members to include the information that we want in their newsletters. I think that would be, and I don't know if they all have newsletters. I just get Lisa Clancy's and Dr. Page's. And I must admit, I don't always read them, but I think considering that is our charge and they have staff, that it is probably best to advocate for them to make sure they tell their residents about things such as the town hall.
Yeah, that's a good reminder, Liz, that of our charge.
I also think it's, we should do a better job this year once we get a date on the calendar for a presentation to Committee of the Whole to personally call our members of the county council, because last year it was an abysmal turnout of members of the county council, and a lot of work goes into that, and it's a good way for them to learn about the work that we've been doing, as well as what's going on in the county and where the pressure points are. And so I think when we get that date, we should be more proactive with our elected officials to encourage them to attend, or send a representative to attend, but have a presence.
Do you know how the council members feel about the Committee of the Whole? Do they find that valuable, or is that checking off another meeting? Is that the best way? We get FaceTime with them, but I'm not sure how critical it is to them, as opposed to, maybe a PDF dropped in their email or something. I was just curious, because in all of them, I think the very first year we presented back in 2017, I think we had almost everybody there. And then after that, it just, began petering out. So I don't know if there was a reason for that. Maybe the Committee of the Whole itself is not deemed the most viable meeting. I don't know. Any thoughts on that, or anybody in the know?
I know they have Committee of the Whole meetings on a fairly regular basis.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're not sporadic. I want to say that they have them a lot of weeks. Like it's a regular. I don't know. I guess I thought it was an expectation, but I don't know that for a fact. But I know they have them often.
Mm-hmm.
That might be Lisa. That might be a question that we ask of our county council member when we make that call to check in with them and tell them about the town hall, is to say, we had very, very low turnout, and just ask that question.
Yeah.
Well, to that point, if we are focusing on our goals and we are working towards our goals and we actually have achievements, I think we can communicate that with our council members, and it might be a reason for them to want to attend because we're actually achieving something. On that note, can I share my screen?
I don't know if
think
you
I'm gonna
can or
try.
not.
I'm going to try.
You should be able to.
Let's see. Can you all see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so this is what was attached to the agenda. And the highlighted items are things that we've been focusing on. And we do have champions of many of these items, but I don't think we formalized that. And I just want to make sure that every commission member is engaged in at least one of these goals in some way. And if you're not, please let me know, and we'll get you engaged. But, so for instance, under health and well-being, promote community awareness to protect vulnerable older adults from abuse and exploitation, serve on the St. Louis Financial Protection Coalition. I think, Liz, I think you do that.
I do.
Mhm.
Okay, and are there others that are engaged in that?
The Financial Protection Coalition, well, Lisa Knoll is. And then I'm also on the Digital Divide Task Force that is under the Social and Civil Engagement.
Yeah, and that was the next one.
I'm
Yeah.
on the Aging and Behavioral Health Council, which is the first one in health and well-being. And then you've got several on subcommittees for the state's master plan on aging. So
Mhm. That's right. We have Aging Ahead Virtual Senior Center. No, that's really Lisa Knoll.
I mean, I serve on Lutheran Foundation board because one of our 5 focus areas is older adult services, and but again, I don't know if that necessarily fits in here.
Monitor Corps implementation of transportation. I know we have Lisa Knoll's name on practically everything here. Who else is engaged in that? I know that, we get a report from you, Susan, on this as well.
Well, I think it was Wayne who was particularly involved in transportation.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And Carol, you are a circuit breaker,
Yes.
kind of.
Hmm.
And then Dan, you're the housing home repair.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I'm also kind of liaison with the Commission on Disabilities Universal Design Work Group.
Mm-hmm. And we have the Medicare. Is it Cookie that does the Medicare support?
Wilma.
Wilma does yeah. What's the name of her organization? I should know that.
Missouri SHIP.
Yeah.
Development, and I'm trying to get involved in the workforce development component.
When we did the last several years, when we've done the report, we do a separate listing of the organizations that commissioners are engaged in. So there's kind of a separate list since they aren't all included under goals. Lisa, that's to your point about Lutheran Foundation. So
Right,
we included under there since it's since a number of people who are involved in other organizations, they just aren't all specific to they aren't all called out under the goals. And we could
that would be great to have a list. I remember that last year, to have 2 columns of things that people are engaged in, at least lets them know that we're their eyes and ears in the community.
Yeah. So we do we send everyone the written report, which is quite long. And then they get a copy in their inbox of the PDF PowerPoint as well. So maybe they feel, well, I got a copy of the PowerPoint. Don't necessarily need to go to the presentation. I don't know.
That could be.
Yeah, that is my mantra. Why have a meeting when you can read about it with coffee?
So again, if there are people that are not engaged in any of these goals, I know many of the tasks that we're trying to work on this year are, take a fair amount of effort, and I think just one person involved in it isn't necessarily effective. So, we probably need a couple people on some of these items. I think we definitely need help on the workforce development component and on the home repair component. So if anybody's interested, offline, they can let me know.
Dan, you might want to reach out to Mike on that, since he's not on the call today.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Where does Mike live? Is he Commissioner,
Yes, he represents
or I'm sorry.
Bernie Tracus's district.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm not referring to Mike. I'm thinking of, is it Dave with AARP that has been attending our meetings each month for the past?
Yeah, he's not a commissioner.
Yes, I was saying, is he a commissioner possibility? Is he? I wasn't sure if he fit into any of our open spaces or.
We only have one slot, and that is Dunaway's district.
District 4?
Is it 4 or 2?
No,
Two, I think it's two.
It's true.
It's 2.
Okay.
So it's
It's Dr. Page's old
Right.
district. So, you know, that might be something that when you meet with him, you can just bring to his attention that that's open.
but it does also cover, it goes all the way west to some of Chesterfield, and then it's Maryland Heights. And I believe it's Florissant as well in that district. It is
No, it's not
geographically
Florissant.
quite extensive, but
Yeah. Yeah, and we have, I think, 2 slots for representatives of service agency or university, and we have Lisa Knoll in one, and
Wilma is the
Wilma's in the other.
yes.
So really, the only opening is 2, District 2. Yeah, so that's something we should definitely ask Dr. Page about, since he's familiar with that
Exactly.
district.
Yeah.
Okay.
He may have someone in mind. So good discussion.
Thanks for sharing that, Dan. I think, yeah, that was great.
Okay. So around the room with commissioners, anyone have something they would like to report? A quiet bunch. I would really like to know what the difficulty was today for Wayne getting on, and I don't know if Lillian has had problems before getting on, so
It may be his device. I think he uses an iPad. And that may be the issue.
I'm on an iPad.
He also
Yeah.
couldn't get on using the call-in. That was my last conversation with him. For some reason, he couldn't, he couldn't, the password, he said it wouldn't take the password.
I think the challenge that I've found is that there's 2 passwords. And once you realize you have to use the panelist password, you're in. But if you try that first password, you're not going to get in.
And if you try the password that says, so on my iPad, I actually don't have to use the mobile device password. I use the regular password, but on my phone, which is another form of mobile device, you have to use the other one. So I'm not sure why that is, but you kind of have to figure out which password is acceptable for your device. And I don't know if that's Wayne's barrier, because he does seem to have challenges each month. It would almost be nice to get together and have somebody be able to assist him, because he's such a valuable piece here that I hate to see that he misses when he's trying to be here.
Right.
I just use the one that when the email comes up, and I just use the panelist one. I didn't have a problem on my iPad.
Yeah. For whatever reason, it's become easy now. And I think maybe it's because of the habit of doing the same thing. But at the beginning, it definitely was not easy.
It might be worth it to have just meet with Wayne and see what his challenges are, because it may be something simple or not. I agree. We miss him when he isn't able to join us.
Well, we also, I think we discussed that we would have a certain number of face-to-face meetings a year, but we didn't designate which ones they would be, did we?
I thought we talked about, it was either March or April. I would have to go back through the minutes.
So in today's agenda, it does say that our next meeting is March the 7th, but it doesn't indicate whether it's face-to-face or virtual. Should we do it face-to-face?
I wonder, should we push that back till April? The only reason I say that is if we're going to the March 4th, or the March 5th, we'll be face-to-face March 5th for those of us attending the Master Plan on Aging. If we're focused on that, maybe we should put it back a month, and then that would put us also closer to the presentation, the May presentation. Would that make more sense, April?
It works for me. April
A little
4th?
bit, it's a little bit safer with the weather as well.
Yeah.
Mhm.
All
I
right,
mean,
let's aim for
unfortunately,
that.
early March you can have bad weather. So I think that's a good idea. And I
Yeah.
agree, if we're all getting together earlier in the week, then, yeah, that makes sense.
I don't know if there's nothing to report yet, but Carol, you and I are meeting with the Home Builders Association and members of the Commission on Disabilities on the 20th of this month.
Yes,
To see if we can help shepherd that process.
That's great. That's great.
yeah, it'll be a lively discussion, I'm sure.
I'm sure it will be.
Sue, are you going to be there? You were at the last one.
What'd you say?
At we're meeting with Lisa Clancy
Yeah.
on the
Yeah. It was live.
proposed legislation.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll see you there.
Okay.
Mike, you've been very, very quiet, and I didn't acknowledge you earlier. Do you have anything you want to share with the group before we close out our meeting?
He's on mute.
Okay, yeah. Mike, you're on mute. And he may be attending when he's able to attend and have it up on his screen. So
Right.
I think we're going to go ahead and move on. And would somebody like to make a motion that we bring this meeting to a close?
So Carol, as there's actually not a
Oh,
quorum, you can
whoa,
actually just
wait.
end the meeting. if you like.
Oh, I can
So
end
we
the
are not
meeting
gonna
because we
vote on
don't
it,
have a
'cause it's
quorum.
all voting items, including that. Sorry about
I
that.
never get this conclusion right, Mac.
All right.
So we will conclude. I want to express to everyone, I appreciate your patience. I didn't realize I was going to chair this meeting today. So I really didn't have all my ducks in a row, but let's have a quorum next month and get these new officers elected, and everybody have a good rest of the month of February. And contact your county council members.
Thank you.
Okay, see you
Okay.
at the.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye,
Bye-bye.
everyone. Please
Bye.
send the information, the flyer.
We will.
Yeah,